This is the story of the Giraffe and the Pelly and me by Roald Dahl. The Giraffe, the Pelly and me. And a monkey, of course. Introducing the ladderless window cleaning company. A giraffe with a neck so long she can reach the highest windows. A pelican with a bucket-sized beak. A monkey to do the washing, and their new friend, Billy. At last, their big break has arrived. The richest man in England has given them a job that could make all their dreams come true. But what will happen when these unlikely heroes spy the world's most dangerous diamond thief through the windows? There's only one way to find out. The Giraffe and the Pelly and Me by Roald Dahl. Not far from where I live, there is a queer, old, empty wooden house standing all by itself on the side of the road. I long to explore inside it, but the door is always locked, and when I peer through a window, all I can see is darkness and dust. I know the ground floor used to be a shop because I can still read the faded lettering across the front which says, "The Grubber." My mother has also told me that in our part of the country in the olden days a grubber was another name for a sweet shop. And now, every time I look at it, I think to myself what a lovely old sweet shop it must have been. On the shop window itself, somebody has painted in white the words "For Sale." One morning, I noticed "For Sale" had been replaced and scraped off the shop window, and in its place somebody had painted "Sold." I stood there staring at the new writing and wishing like mad it had been me who had bought it, because then I would have been able to make it into a grubber all over again. I have always longed to own a sweet shop. The sweet shop of my dreams would be loaded from top to bottom with sherbet suckers, caramel fudge and Russian toffee and sugar snorters and butter gumballs, and thousands of other glorious things like that. Oh boy, what I couldn't have done with that old grubber shop if it had been mine. On my next visit to the grubber, I was standing across the road gazing at the wonderful old building when suddenly an enormous bathtub came sailing out through one of the second floor windows and crashed right on the middle of the road. A few moments later, a white porcelain lavatory pan with the wooden seat still attached on it came flying out of the same window and landed on with a wonderful splintering crash just beside the bathtub. This was followed by a kitchen sink and an empty canary cage and a four-poster bed and 2 hot water bottles and the rocking horse and a sewing machine and goodness knows what else besides. It looked as though some madman was ripping out the whole of the inside of the house, because now pieces of staircase and bits of the banisters and a whole lot of old floorboards came whistling through the windows. Then there was silence. I waited and waited, but not another sound came from within the building. I crossed the road and stood right under the windows and called up, "Is anybody at home?" There was no answer. In the end, it began to get dark, so I had to turn away and start walking home. But you can bet your life nothing was going to stop me from hurrying back there then again tomorrow morning to see what the next surprise was going to be. When I got back to the grubber house the next morning, the first thing I noticed was the new door. The dirty old brown door had been taken out, and in its place someone had fitted a brand new red one. The new door was fantastic. It was twice as high as the other one, and it looked ridiculous. I couldn't imagine who would want a tremendous door like that in this house unless it was a giant. As well as this, Somebody had scraped away the sold notice on the shop window, and now there was a whole lot of different writing all across the glass. I stood there reading it, and trying to figure out what on earth it all meant. I tried to catch some sign or sound of movement inside the house, but there was none, until all of a sudden, at the corner of my eye, I noticed that one of the windows on the top floor was slowly beginning to open outwards. Then a head appeared at the open window. I stared at the head. The head stared back at me with big, round, dark eyes. Suddenly, a second window was flung wide open, and of all the crazy things, a gigantic white bird hopped out and perched on the windowsill. I knew what this was. That this one was because of its amazing beak, which was shaped like a huge orange-coloured basin. The pelican looked down at me and sang out, "Oh, how I wish for a big fat fish. I'm as hungry as ever could be. A dish of fish is my only wish. How far are we away from the sea?" "We are a long way from the sea," I called back to him, "but there is a fishmonger in the village not far away." "A fish what?" "A fishmonger. Now, what on earth would that be?" asked the pelican. "I've heard of fish pie, and I've heard of fish cake, and a fish finger, but I've never heard of a fishmonger. Are these mongers good to eat?" This question confused and baffled me a little bit, so I said, "Who is your friend in the next window?" "She is the giraffe," the pelican answered, "and she is not wonderful. Her legs are on the ground floor, and her head is looking out of the top window." As if all this wasn't enough, the window on the first floor was now flung wide open, and out popped a monkey. The monkey stood on the windowsill and did a jiggly little dance. He was so skinny he seemed to be made out of furry bits of wire, but he danced wonderfully well, and I clapped and cheered and did a little dance myself in return. "We are the window cleaners," sang out the monkey. "We will polish your glass till it's shining like brass and it sparkles like the sun and the sea. We are quick and polite, we will come a day or night, the giraffe and the Pelly and me. We are a fabulous crew, we know just what to do, and we never stop work to drink tea. And your windows will glow when you give them a go, the giraffe and the Pelly and me. We use water and soap, plus some kindness and hope, but we never use ladders, not we. Who needs ladders at all when you're 30 feet tall? Not the giraffe, not the Pelly, not me."